Hey! Hey, Nathan's first! He's actually first! This is Mark's suggestion. Mark is vibing on this. Hey, Sassy! Carrie, Lois, Zaynep, Dexter's here. I'm here. Mark's here.
Yo.
You're here. It's all great. Anybody remember December 1963? Because I sure do.
What a lady, what a night.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to. We'll be back. Hey, Danielle and Jenny. Hello, everybody. Welcome. If it's your first time tuning in, I'm reading Harry Potter every single day for an hour. I have not read the books. I've only seen 2 of the movies. Don't remember anything from them. I read all the comments, so no spoilers, no hints, and also little addition. No leading questions. I noticed, and somebody commented on this on YouTube, so thank you for that. A couple of reads ago, somebody asked, like, what do you think is happening with what happened with Neville's parents before something was revealed, right? So please, no leading questions, so I don't, like, pay attention to something that you wouldn't be paying attention to the first time you read through it too, right? So just think about that too. John, if I was you, I would never be able to wait until 6 p.m. to keep reading. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. First time Voldemort and Harry are going to duel. You look like Jimmy Neutron's mom. Jordan Clausen, that is really funny. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so no spoilers. If you have any questions, put some questions down there because I can't interact with you and read this at the same time. So if you have anything that needs to pop up, pop in later. Kat, if you missed yesterday, go to the link in my bio. It's uploaded there. The Patreon, if you want to get into some of the other readings we're doing, which are The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury and The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. We're having fun with that one. Plus, on Patreon, on one of the tiers, I send you a personal letter with Dexter stickers. Look at these. That's so silly and funny. Okay, what else? I give 10% of what I get on Patreon to the Treehouse Society in Vancouver. They prevent child abuse and violence, which is pretty great. And thank you to the healthcare workers, of course, for everything you're doing too. So let's get started with me. I'm going to change the music. I'm going to draw on the scar, put on the glasses. Oh, actually, for now this is good. All right, here we go. Mascara. Haha, funny John, you are so funny. Get these glasses on. And I want it to be known that you have value, you have meaning, and you are loved. Okay, let's get this going. So the duel is about to happen. Okay, actually, let's get this creepy music going on, right? Because it's the creepy section. It's Voldemort. I'm excited. I don't know what's gonna happen, but my premonition was that Voldemort, he might duel him, but he's gonna let Harry go because he is linked to him by power and he wants to grow in power. And if he somehow kills Harry Potter, it would lessen his power. So that's what I think. I think he's gonna beat Harry, but let him go. That's what I'm thinking. Chapter 34, Priori Incantatem. Wormtail approached Harry, who scrambled to his feet to support his own weight before the ropes were untied. Wormtail raised his new silver wand, pulled out the wad of material gagging Harry, and then, with one swipe, cut through the bonds tying Harry to the gravestone. There was a split second, perhaps, when Harry might have considered running for it, but his injured leg shook under him as he stood on the overgrown grave. As the Death Eaters closed ranks, forming a tighter circle around him and Voldemort, so that the gaps where the missing Death Eater should have stood were filled. Wormtail walked out of the circle to the place where Cedric's body lay, and returned with Harry's wand, which he thrust roughly into Harry's hand without looking at him. Then Wormtail resumed his place in the circle of watching Death Eaters.
You have been taught how to duel, Harry Potter, said Voldemort softly, his red eyes glinting through the darkness. At these words, Harry remembered, as though from a former life, the dueling club at Hogwarts he had attended briefly 2 years ago. Not a lean question, I swear. John, are you scared? You know, I'm scared of what I could do to you. All he had learned, there was the disarming spell, Expelliarmus. And what use would it be, even if he could, to deprive Voldemort of his wand, when he was surrounded by Death Eaters, outnumbered by at least 30 to 1? He had never learnt anything that could possibly fit him for this. He knew he was facing the thing against which Moody had always warned, the unblockable Avacadabra curse. And Voldemort was right. His mother was not here to die for him this time. He was quite unprotected.
We bow to each other, Harry,
said Voldemort, bending a little, but keeping his snake-like face upturned to Harry.
Come, the 90s must be observed. Dumbledore would like you to show manners. Bow to death, Harry!
The Death Eaters were laughing again. Voldemort's lipless mouth was smiling. Harry did not bow. He was not going to let Voldemort play with him before killing him. He was not going to give him that satisfaction. I'm going to turn to some battle music, maybe. Let's see how this fits.
I said, bow!
Voldemort said, raising his hand, and Harry felt his spine curve as though a huge, invisible hand was bending him ruthlessly forwards. And the Death Eaters laughed harder than ever.
Very good,
said Voldemort softly, as he raised his wand, the pressure bearing down upon Harry lifted too.
And now you face me like a man, straight-backed and proud, the way your father died. And now, we duel!
Voldemort raised his wand, and before Harry could do anything to defend himself, before he could even move, he had been hit again by the Cruciatus curse. The pain was so intense, so all-consuming, that he no longer knew where he was. White-hot knives were piercing every inch of his skin. His head was surely going to burst with pain. He was screaming more loudly than he'd ever screamed in his life. And then it stopped. Harry rolled over and scrambled to his feet. He was shaking as uncontrollably as Wormtail had done when his wand had been cut off. He staggered sideways into the wall of watching Death Eaters, and they pushed him away, back towards Voldemort.
A little break,
said Voldemort, the slit-like nostrils dilating with excitement.
A little pause. That hurt, didn't it, Harry? You don't want me to do that again, do you?
Harry didn't answer. He wasn't going to die like Cedric. Those pitiless red eyes were telling him so. He was going to die, and there was nothing he could do about it. But he wasn't going to play along. He wasn't going to obey Voldemort. He wasn't going to beg.
I asked you whether you want me to do that again, said Voldemort softly. Answer me, Imperio!
And Harry felt, for the third time in his life, the sensation that his mind had been wiped of all thought. Ah, it was bliss not to think. It was as though he was floating, dreaming. Just answer no. Say no. Just answer no. I will not, said a stranger voice in the back of his head. I won't answer.
Just answer no.
I won't do it. I won't say it.
Just answer no.
I won't! And these words burst from Harry's mouth. They echoed through the graveyard, and the dream state was lifted as suddenly as though cold water had been thrown over him. Back rushed the aches that the Cruciatus curse had left all over his body. Back rushed the realization of where he was and what he was facing.
You won't,
said Voldemort quietly, and the Death Eaters were not laughing now.
You won't say no.
Harry.
And Harry, obedience is a virtue. I need to teach you before you die. Perhaps another little dose of pain.
Voldemort raised his wand, but this time Harry was ready. With the reflexes born of his Quidditch training, he flung himself sideways onto the ground. He rolled behind the marble headstone of Voldemort's father, and he heard it crack as the curse missed him. We are not
playing hide and seek, Harry,
said Voldemort's soft, cold voice, drawing nearer as the Death Eaters laughed.
You cannot hide from me. Does this mean you are tired of our duel? Does this mean that you would prefer me to finish it now, Harry? Come out, Harry. Come out and play then.
It will be quick. It might even be painless.
I would not know. I have never died.
Harry crouched behind the headstone and knew the end had come. There was no hope, no help to be had, and as he heard Voldemort draw nearer still, he knew one thing only, and it was beyond fear or reason. He was not going to die crouching here like a child playing hide and seek. He was not going to die kneeling at Voldemort's feet. He was going to die upright like his father, and he was going to die trying to defend himself, even if no defense was possible. Before Voldemort could stick his snake-like face around the headstone, Harry had stood up. He gripped his wand tightly in his hand, thrust it out in front of him, and threw himself around the headstone, facing Voldemort. Voldemort was ready, and as Harry shouted, "Expelliarmus!" Voldemort cried,
Avacadabra!
A jet of green light issued from Voldemort's wand, just as a jet of red light blasted from Harry's. They met in midair, and suddenly Harry's wand was vibrating, as though an electric charge was surging through it. His hand seized up around it. He couldn't have released it if he wanted to, and a narrow beam of light was now connecting the two wands, neither red nor green, but bright, deep gold. Okay, I'm going to take a short pause here. I know Avacadabra is that death curse. It just creates death upon a person, right?
Yeah, that's what he used to kill Cedric.
Expelliarmus is to make them fly
Get rid
away.
of the wand,
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha.
or whatever they're holding.
Yeah. Oh! Just the music. I don't know if you heard the music or you just saw me screaming.
Yeah, also, I don't think you're pronouncing Avada Kedavra right.
What am I saying?
Avacadabra?
Avada Kedavra, right. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Avracadabra. Avada Kedavra, got you. Okay, neither red nor green, but bright, deep gold. And Harry, following the beam with his astonished gaze, saw that Voldemort's long, white fingers, too, were gripping a wand that was shaking and vibrating. And then, nothing could have prepared Harry for this. He felt his feet lift from the ground. He and Voldemort were both being raised into the air, their wands still connected by that thread of shimmering golden light. They were gliding away from the tombstone of Voldemort's father, and then came to rest on a patch of ground that was clear and free of graves. The Death Eaters were shouting, "Hey, where are you going?" They were asking Voldemort for instructions. What should we do over here? What's going on? Where are you going? They were closing in, reforming the circle around Harry and Voldemort. The snake slithering at their heels, some of them drawing their wands. The golden thread connecting Harry and Voldemort splintered. Though the wands remained connected, 1,000 more offshoots arced high over Harry and Voldemort, crisscrossing all around them, until they were enclosed in a golden, dome-shaped web, a cage of light, beyond which the Death Eaters circled like jackals, their cries strangely muffled now. Okay, so the light made this like big circle of dome around them. Gotcha.
Do nothing!
Voldemort shrieked to the Death Eaters. Okay. And Harry saw his red eyes wide with astonishment at what was happening, saw him fighting to break the thread of light still connecting his wand with Harry's. Harry held on to his wand more tightly with both hands, and the golden thread remained unbroken.
Do nothing unless I command you!
Voldemort shouted to the Death Eaters. And then an unearthly and beautiful sound filled the air. It was coming from every thread of the light-spun web vibrating around Harry and Voldemort. It was a sound Harry recognized, though he had heard it only once before in his life. Aslan was singing. It's like, huh? Phoenix song, the Phoenix song. It was the sound of hope to Harry, the most beautiful and welcome thing he had ever heard in his life. He felt as though the song was inside him instead of just around him. It was the sound he connected with Dumbledore, and it was almost as though a friend was speaking in his ear.
Don't break the connection.
I know, Harry told the music. I know I mustn't. But no sooner had he thought it than the thing became much harder to do. His wand began to vibrate more powerfully than ever. And now the beam between him and Voldemort changed too. It was as though large beads of light were sliding up and down the thread connecting the wands. Harry felt his wand give a shudder under his hand as the light beads began to slide slowly and steadily his way. The direction of the beam's movement was now towards him, from Voldemort, and he felt his wand shudder angrily. As the nearest bead of light moved nearer to Harry's wand tip, the wood beneath his fingers grew so hot he feared it would burst into flame. The closer that bead moved, the harder Harry's wand vibrated. He was sure his wand would not survive contact with it. It felt as though it was about to shatter under his fingers. Sorry, I'm trying to grip this. So this dome-like thing was happening. He's not breaking the connection. And then, and this longer he's holding it, this thing in the middle, the beam between them, it's moving closer towards him. Right?
Like a bead of light, yeah.
It's almost like Kamehameha in Dragon Ball Z. You know, they're like Kamehameha, and they're like holding it. I remember this from a teenager, and there's like this beam, and like, oh no, oh no. He concentrated every last particle of his mind upon forcing the bead backwards towards Voldemort, his ears full of Phoenix song, his eyes furious, fixated, and slowly, very slowly, the beads quivered to a halt. And then, just as slowly, they began to move the other way. And it was Voldemort's wand that was vibrating extra hard now. Voldemort, who looked astonished and almost fearful. One of the beads of light was quivering, inches from the tips of Voldemort's wand. Harry didn't understand why he was doing it, didn't know what it might achieve, but he now concentrated as he had never done in his life on forcing that bead of light right back into Voldemort's wand. And slowly, very slowly, it moved along the golden thread. It trembled for a moment, and then it connected. At once, Voldemort's wand began to emit echoing screams of pain. Then, Voldemort's red eyes widened with shock. A dense, smoky hand flew out of the tip, and it vanished. Oh, wow. The ghost of the hand he had made Wormtail. More shouts of pain, and then something much larger began to blossom from Voldemort's wand tip. A great, grayish something that looked as though it was made of the solidest, densest smoke. It was a head, now a chest and arms, the torso of Cedric Diggory. Come on.
I'm back. What happened?
Oh! Oh! Damn! Voldemort! If ever Harry might have released his wand from shock, it would have been then. But instinct kept him clutching his wand tightly, so that the thread of golden light remained unbroken, even though the thick grey ghost of Cedric Diggory, was it a ghost? It looked so solid, emerged in its entirety from the end of Voldemort's wand, as though it was squeezing itself out of a very narrow tunnel. And this shade of Cedric stood up and looked up and down the golden thread of light and spoke. "Hold on, Harry," it said. Its voice was distant and echoing. Harry looked at Voldemort. His wide red eyes were still shocked. He had no more expected this than Harry had, and, very dimly, Harry heard the frightening yells of the Death Eaters prowling around the edges of the golden dome. More screams of pain from the wand, and then something else emerged from its tip. The dense shadow of a second head, quickly followed by arms and torso. An old man Harry had once seen in a dream was now pushing himself out of the end of the wand, just as Cedric had done. This is the old dude, the Billy man.
Billy Man?
No, what's his name? What's his name?
I can't remember, but it's the guy from the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gotta be.
And his ghost, his shadow or whatever it was, fell next to Cedric's and surveyed Harry and Voldemort and the golden web and the connected wands with mild surprise, leaning on his walking stick. Frank, right.
It was a real wizard then, the old man said, his eyes on Voldemort. Killed me, that one did. You fight him, boy.
But already yet another head was emerging, and this head, grey as a smoky statue, was a woman's. Harry, both arms shaking now, as he fought to keep his wand still, saw her drop to the ground and straightened up like the other, staring. The shadow of Bertha Jorkins, I thought it might have been his mom. Bertha Jorkins surveyed the battle before with her wide eyes. "Don't let go now," she cried, and her voice echoed like Cedric's, as though from very far away. "Don't let him get you, Harry. Don't let go." She and the other two shadowy figures began to pace around the inner walls of the golden web, while the Death Eaters flitted around the outside of it. All this is a lot of crazy things happening. And Voldemort's dead victims whispered as they circled the duelers, whispered words of encouragement to Harry, and hissed words Harry couldn't hear to Voldemort. And now another head was emerging from the tip of Voldemort's wand, and Harry knew when he saw it who it would be. He knew as though he had expected it from the moment when Cedric had appeared from the wand. Knew because the man appearing was the one he'd thought of more than any other tonight. The smoky shadow of a tall man with untidy hair fell to the ground as Bertha had done, straightened up and looked at him. And Harry, his arms shaking madly now, looked back into the ghostly face of his father. Oh man, okay. Whoa, this is crazy. "Your mother's coming," he said quietly. "She wants to see you. It will be all right. Hold on." And she came. First her head, then her body. A young woman with long hair, the smoky, shadowy form of Lily Potter blossomed from the end of Voldemort's wand, fell to the ground, and straightened like her husband. This is nuts in the middle of a fight. Wow. It's crazy. She walked close to Harry, looking down at him, and she spoke in the same distant, echoing voice as the others, but quietly, so that Voldemort, his face now livid with fear as his victims prowled around him, could not hear. "When the connection is broken, we will linger for only moments. But we will give you time. You must get to Portkey. It will return you to Hogwarts. Do you understand, Harry?" "Yes," Harry gasped, fighting now to keep a hold on his wand, which was slipping and sliding beneath his fingers. "Harry," whispered the figure of Cedric, "take my body back, will you? Take my body back to my parents." "I will,"
said Harry, his face screwed up with the effort of holding the wand. "Do it now," whispered his father's voice. "Be ready to run. Do it now." "Now!" Harry yelled. He didn't think he could have held on for another moment anyway. He pulled his wand upwards with an almighty wrench, and the golden thread broke. The cage of light vanished. The phoenix song died. But the shadowy figures of Voldemort's victims did not disappear. They were closing in on Voldemort, shielding Harry from his gaze. And Harry ran as he had never run in his life, knocking 2 stunned Death Eaters aside as he passed. He zigzagged behind headstones, feeling their curses following him, hearing them hit the headstones. He was dodging curses and graves, pelting towards Cedric's body, no longer aware of the pain in his leg, his whole being concentrated on what he had to do. "Stun him!" he heard Voldemort scream. 10 feet from Cedric, Harry dived behind a marble angel to avoid the jets of red light and saw the tip of his wing shatter as the spells hit it. Gripping his wand more tightly, he dashed out from behind the angel. Impedimenta! He bellowed, pointing his wand wildly over his shoulder at the Death Eaters running at him. From a muffled yell, he thought he had stopped at least one of them, but there was no time to turn and look. He jumped over the cup and dived as he heard more wand blasts behind him. More jets of light flew over his head as he fell, stretching out his hand to grab Cedric's arm. "Stand aside! I will kill him! He is mine!" shrieked Voldemort. Harry's hand had closed on Cedric's wrist. One tombstone stood between him and Voldemort, but Cedric was too heavy to carry, and the cup was out of reach. Voldemort's red eyes flamed in the darkness. Harry saw his mouth curl into a smile, saw him raise his wand. "Accio!" Harry yelled, pointing his wand at the Triwizard Cup. It flew into the air and soared towards him. Harry caught it by the handle. He heard Voldemort scream of fury at the same moment as he felt the jerk behind his navel that meant the portkey had worked. It was speeding him away in a whirl of wind and color. Cedric, along with him, they were going back. Holy moly!
So everybody in the chat is saying that it's actually a mistake that Lily comes out of the wand last. She's supposed to come out before Harry's dad, I guess? Because it's all about who was
Killed
last, right? In the order. So it's Cedric, and then Frank, and then Harry's... and then Harry's... Or, I guess, Lily, and then Harry's dad. What?
I guess, but...
Everybody's saying that Lily comes out first.
Well, I don't really know why that matters that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was nuts. That was crazy. Crazy fight. And once again, my predictions came true. Once again, my premonitions. Nailed it. Nailed it.
Yeah, you totally saw this coming.
Yeah. So, as I said, he let him go. He let him go. He could have killed him last moment, but he's smiling as like, I know what's happening here. He let Harry go. So,
No, we didn't.
yes, he did. He could have killed him, but he was
Harry
like, okay.
escaped.
No, come on. Voldemort's a lot stronger there. So, nailed it. Nailed it. Please, I know we all bet on it. So, give me your bets. E-transfer to vothjohn@gmail.com, please. Because I nailed it. All right, let's move on, shall we? Okay, actually, I have a thought. The powers, the magical powers people have, it seems to me that Voldemort, his wand and the Death Eaters and the what you call them, the floating bad ghosts, Dementors.
The floating bad ghost.
the Dementors. It all has to do with death, and they get their power from there. I'm almost getting I know it's not, and don't get mad about me comparing it with that, but almost like the Star Wars universe, that, you know, the evilness gives people power, and the good gives people power. I know it's not the same structure, but there's a comparison there. So, you know, the death and the evil and the darkness gives them power, and they, you know, he's got the souls of people almost in his wand that he killed, and he's sucking energy from them, or there's energy in there. So maybe in the other direction, you know, Harry being courageous and good, and all these other students, that's where they're getting their power from. So that's what I think. Yeah. All right, let's keep going, shall we? Chapter 35. Veritaserum. 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 Something like that. Let me know if that's the right way to pronounce it. Veritaserum.
Veritaserum?
Veritaserum.
I don't know.
Harry felt himself slam flat into the ground. His face was pressed into grass. The smell of it filled his nostrils. He had closed his eyes while the portkey transported him, and he kept them closed now. He did not move. All the breath seemed to have been knocked out of him. His head was swimming so badly as he felt as though the ground beneath him was swaying like the deck of a ship. To hold himself steady, he tightened his wand on the two things he was still clutching: the smooth, cold handle of the Triwizard Cup and Cedric's body. He felt as though he would slide away. I mean, how sad was that when Cedric goes, "Please take my body to my parents"? Oh, so sad. So sad. Are they not... Well, okay, also, you know the ghosts who hang around Hogwarts? I wonder what are the rules for that world? And unless, you know, it gets explained later, don't explain it here. But, you know, there's all these ghosts at Hogwarts that get to hang around, right? What happens to, like, Harry's parents' ghosts and Cedric's ghost bodies, you know? It's something I'm wondering. Don't need to give me the answer if it reveals anything. You know, I'm just wondering out loud. Shock and... Okay, let's see. He felt as though he would slide away into the blackness gathering at the edges of his brain if he let go of either of them. Shock and exhaustion kept him on the ground, breathing in the smell of the grass, waiting for someone to do something to happen. And all the while, his scar burnt dully on his forehead. A torrent of sound deafened and confused him. There were voices everywhere, footsteps, screams. He remained where he was, his face screwed up against the noise, as though it was a nightmare that would pass. Then a pair of hands seized him roughly and turned him over. "Harry! Harry!" He opened his eyes. He was looking up at the starry sky, and Albus Dumbledore was crouched over him. The dark shadows of a crowd of people pressed in around them, pushing nearer. Harry felt the ground beneath his head reverberating with their footsteps. He had come back to the edge of the maze. He could see the stands rising above him, the shapes of people moving in them, the stars above. Harry let go of the cup, but he clutched Cedric to him even more tightly. He raised his free hand and seized Dumbledore's wrist. You have a thought?
No, it's just sad.
Oh, Mark's sad. Harry let go of the cup, but he clutched Cedric to him even more tightly. He raised his free hand and seized Dumbledore's wrist, while Dumbledore's face swam in and out of focus. "He's back," Harry whispered. "He's back. Voldemort."
What's going on? What's going on? What's happened?
The face of Cornelius Fudge appeared upside down over Harry. It looked white, appalled.
My God! Diggory!
It whispered.
Dumbledore! He's dead!
The words were repeated. The shadowy figures, pressing in on them, gasped at it to those around them. And then others shouted it, screeched it into the night. "He's dead! He's dead! Cedric Diggory, dead!"
Harry, let go of him.
he heard Fudge's voice say, and he felt fingers trying to prise him from Cedric's limp body, but Harry wouldn't let him go. That's so sad. Then Dumbledore's face, which was still blurred and misted, came closer.
Harry, you can't help him now. It's over. Let go.
He wanted me to bring him back, Harry muttered. It seemed important to explain this. He wanted me to bring him back to his parents.
That's right, Harry. Just let go, now.
Dumbledore bent down, and with extraordinary strength for a man so old and thin, raised Harry from the ground and set him on his feet. Harry swayed. That's that dad power. His head was pounding. His injured leg would no longer support his weight. The crowd around them jostled, fighting to get closer, pressing darkly in on him. What's happened? What's wrong with him? Diggory's dead!
You'll need to go to the hospital wing, Fudge was saying loudly. He's ill. He's injured. Dumbledore. Diggory's parents. They're here. Oh, they're in the stands. I'll take Harry.
No.
I'll take Harry, Dumbledore. I'll take him. No, I would prefer Dumbledore. Amos Diggory's running. He's coming over. Oh, don't you think you should tell him before he sees? Harry, stay here.
Girls were screaming, sobbing hysterically. The scene flickered oddly before Harry's eyes.
It's all right, son. I've got you. Come on. Hospital wing.
Dumbledore said stay, said Harry thickly, the pounding in his scar making him feel as though he was about to throw up. His vision was blurring worse than ever.
You need to lie down. Come on now.
Someone larger and stronger than Harry was half pulling, half carrying him through the frightened crowd. Harry heard them gasping, screaming, and shouting as the man supporting him pushed a path through them, taking him back to the castle. Across the lawn, past the lake, and the Durmstrang ship, Harry heard nothing but the heavy breathing of the man helping him walk. I'm just looking ahead. It's Moody.
What happened, Harry?
The man asked at last, as he lifted Harry up the stone steps. Clunk, clunk, clunk. It was Mad-Eye Moody. Cup was a portkey, said Harry, as they crossed the entrance hall. Took me and Cedric to a graveyard, and Voldemort was there. Lord Voldemort. Clunk, 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 up the marble staircase.
The Dark Lord was there. What happened then?
Killed Cedric. They killed Cedric.
And then?
Clunk, 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 along the corridor. Made a potion.
Got his body back. The Dark Lord got his body back. He's returned.
And the Death Eaters came. And then we dueled.
You dueled with the Dark Lord?
Got away. My wand did something funny. I saw my mum and dad. They came out of the wand.
In here, Harry. In here, and sit down. You'll be all right now. Drink this.
Harry heard a key scrape in a lock and felt a cup being pushed into his hands.
Drink it. You'll feel better. Come on now, Harry. I need to know exactly what happened.
Moody helped tip the stuff down Harry's throat. He coughed, a peppery taste burning his throat. Moody's office came into sharper focus, and so did Moody himself. He looked as white as fudge, and both eyes were fixed unblinkingly upon Harry's face.
Voldemort's back, Harry. You're sure he's back? How did you do it? How did he do it?
He took stuff from his father's grave, and from Wormtail and me, said Harry. His head felt clearer. His scar wasn't hurting so badly. He could now see Moody's face distinctly, even though the office was dark. He could still hear screaming and shouting from the distant Quidditch pitch.
What did the Dark Lord take from you?
Said Moody. Blood, said Harry, raising his arm. His sleeve was ripped where Wormtail's dagger had torn it. Moody let out his breath in a long, low hiss. Sorry.
And the Death Eaters, they returned.
Yes, said Harry. Loads of them.
How did he treat them?
Moody asked quietly.
Did he forgive them?
But Harry had suddenly remembered. He should have told Dumbledore. He should have said it straight away.
There's a Death Eater at Hogwarts. There's a Death Eater here. They put my name in the Goblet of Fire. They made sure I got through to the end.
Harry tried to get up, but Moody pushed him back down.
I know who the Death Eater is, he said quietly.
Karkaroff,
said Harry wildly.
where is he? Have you got him? Is he locked up?
Karkaroff,
said Moody with an odd laugh.
Karkaroff fled tonight when he felt the dark mark burn upon his arm. He betrayed too many faithful supporters of the Dark Lord to wish to meet him. But I doubt he'll get far. The Dark Lord has ways of tracking his enemies.
Karkaroff's gone. He ran away, but then... He didn't put my name in the cup.
No, said Moody slowly. No, he didn't. It was I who did that.
What? The heck, Moody?
Harry heard but didn't believe.
No, you didn't, he said. You didn't do that. You can't have done.
I assure you, I did.
said Moody, and his magical eyes swung around and fixed upon the door, and Harry knew he was making sure that there was no one outside it. At the same time, Moody drew out his wand and pointed it at Harry.
He forgave them then, he said. The Death Eaters who went free, the ones who escaped Azkaban.
What? said Harry. He was looking at the wand and Moody was pointing at him. This was a bad joke. It had to be.
I asked you, said Moody quietly, whether he forgave the scum who never even went to look for him. Those treacherous cowards who'd even brave Azkaban for him. The faithless, worthless bit of filth who were brave enough to cavort in masks at the Quidditch World Cup, but fled at the sight of the dark mark when I fired it into the sky.
Okay, I still think he's good.
He's saying he's a Death Eater, basically.
No, he fired it into the sky to lure the Death Eaters. That's what I think.
What?
You fired? What are you talking about?
I told you, Harry. I told you. If there's one thing I hate more than any others, it's a Death Eater who walked free. They turned their backs on my master.
Oh no!
See?
No!
Come on.
When he needed the most, I expected him to punish them. You Moody, you frickin' little...
God!
Oh!
And now Harry's stuck in a room with him.
Oh man. This is horrible.
I expected him to torture them, tell him he hurt them, Harry.
Moody's face was suddenly lit with an insane smile.
What is this book even? What is this book? What is this book?
With an insane smile.
Tell me, he told them that I alone remained faithful, prepared to risk everything to deliver to him the one thing he wanted above all. You.
You didn't. It can't be you.
Who put your name in the Goblet of Fire under the name of a different school? I did. Who frightened off every person I thought might try to hurt you or prevent you winning the tournament? I did. Who nudged Hagrid into showing you the dragons? I did. Who helped you see the only way you could beat the dragon? I did.
Ah! Wow, what a Slytherin snoop!
God.
Man!
Moody's magical eye had now left the door. It was fixed upon Harry.
Oh my gosh!
His lopsided mouth leered more widely than ever.
It hasn't been easy, Harry, guiding you through these tasks without arousing a suspicion. I've had to use every ounce of cunning I possess so that my hand would not be detectable in your success. Dumbledore would have been very suspicious if you had managed everything too easily. As long as you got into that maze, preferably with a decent head start. Then I knew I would have a chance of getting rid of the other champions and leaving your way clear. But I also had to contend against your stupidity. The second task, that was when I'm most afraid we would fail. I was keeping watch on you, Potter. I knew you hadn't worked out the egg's clue. So I had to give you another hint. Hint.
You didn't, Harry said hoarsely. Cedric gave me the clue.
Who told Cedric to open it underwater? I did. I trusted that he would pass the information on to you. Decent people are so easy to manipulate, Potter. I was sure Cedric would want to pay you for telling him about the dragons, and so he did. But even then, Potter, even then you seemed likely to fail. I was watching all the time. All these hours in the library. Didn't you realise that the book you needed was in your dormitory all along? I planted it there early on. I gave it to the Longbottom boy. Don't you remember? Magical Mediterranean water plants and their properties. It would have told you all you needed to know, all you needed about gillyweed. I expected you to ask everyone and anyone you could for help. Longbottom would have told you in an instant, but you did not. You did not. You have a streak of pride and independence that might have ruined all. So what could I do? Feed you information from another innocent source. You told me at the Yule Ball a house elf called Dobby had given you a Christmas present. I called the elf to the staff room.
Again, a long-winded speech when he could have killed him on the spot.
To collect some robes for cleaning. I staged a loud conversation with Professor McGonagall about the hostages who had been taken and whether Potter would think to use gillyweed. And your little elf ran straight to Snape's store cupboard and hurried to find you.
Moody's wand was still pointing directly at Harry's heart. Over his shoulder, foggy shapes were moving in the faux glass on the wall.
You were so long in that lake, Potter. I thought you had drowned, but luckily Dumbledore took your idiocy for nobility and marked you high for it. I breathed again. You had an easier time of it than you should have done in that maze tonight, of course,
said Moody.
That was because I was patrolling around it, able to see through the outer hedges, able to curse many obstacles out of your way. I stunned Fleur Delacour as she passed. I put the Imperious curse on Crumb so that he would finish Diggory and leave your path to the cup clear.
Harry stared at Moody. He just didn't see how this could be. Dumbledore's friend, the famous Auror, the one who had caught so many Death Eaters. It made no sense at all. This is crazy, yo! It's crazy.
We should have known. He's a defense against the dark arts teacher, and they all sucked so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a new one next one, and the next one they're gonna, for sure, he will not be evil or sucky. Actually, no, we had Lupin.
Yeah.
Lupin didn't suck.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad. But every single time they just there's something deeper to them.
Yeah.
Well, which is obviously gonna happen next time. Lupin? Is it Lupin?
Lupin, yeah.
Yeah. They're yelling Lupin at you.
Lupin, not Lupin. What? Keep going. I don't know.
Y'all are acting weird. Okay, where were we? foggy shapes in the faux glass were sharpening and become more distinct. Harry could see the outlines of 3 people over Moody's shoulder, moving closer and closer, but Moody wasn't watching them. His magical eye was upon Harry.
The Dark Lord didn't manage to kill you, Potter, and he so wanted to, whispered Moody. Imagine how he will reward me when he finds I've done it for him. I gave you to him, the thing he needed above all to regenerate, and then I killed you for him. I will be honoured beyond all other Death Eaters. I will be his dearest, his closest supporter, closer than a son.
Moody's normal eye was bulging, the magical eye fixed upon Harry. The door was barred, and Harry knew he would never reach his wand in time.
The Dark Lord and I,
said Moody, and he looked completely insane now, towering over Harry, leering down at him.
have much in common. Both of us, for instance, had very disappointing fathers. Very disappointing indeed. Both of us suffered the indignity, Harry, of being named after those fathers. And both of us had the very great pleasure of killing our fathers to ensure the continued rise of the Dark Order.
You're mad, Harry said. He couldn't stop himself. You're mad!
Mad, am I?
Said Moody, his voice rising uncontrollably.
We'll see who's mad, now that the Dark Lord has returned with me at his side. He is back, Harry Potter. You did not conquer him, and now I conquer you.
Moody raised his wand. He opened his mouth. Harry plunged his own hand into his robes.
Stupefy!
There was a blinding flash of red light, and with a great splintering and crashing, the door of Moody's office was blasted apart. Moody was thrown backwards onto the office floor. Harry, still staring at the place where Moody's face had been, saw Albus Dumbledore, Professor Snape, and Professor McGonagall looking back at him out of the faux glass. He looked around and saw the 3 of them standing in the doorway, Dumbledore in front, his wand outstretched. At that moment, Harry fully understood for the first time why people said Dumbledore was the only wizard Voldemort had ever feared. The look upon Dumbledore's face as he stared down at the unconscious form of Mad-Eye Moody was more terrible than Harry could have ever imagined. There was no benign smile upon Dumbledore's face, no twinkle in the eyes behind the spectacles. There was cold fury in every line of the ancient face. A sense of power radiated from Dumbledore, as though he was giving off burning heat. Goosebumps. He stepped into the office, placed a foot underneath Moody's unconscious body, and kicked him over onto his back so that his face was visible. Snape followed him, looking into the faux glass where his own face was still visible, glaring into the room. Professor McGonagall went straight to Harry.
Come along, Potter,
she whispered. The thin line of her mouth was twitching as though she was about to cry.
Come along. Hospital wing.
No, said Dumbledore sharply.
Dumbledore, he ought to. Look at him. He's been through enough tonight.
He will stay, Minerva, because he needs to understand,
said Dumbledore curtly.
Understanding is the first step to acceptance, and only with acceptance can there be recovery. He needs to know who has put him through the ordeal he has suffered tonight, and why.
I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to stop to read the questions, restart the stream because we're getting towards 60 minutes, but holy moly! Holy crap!
Did you put your name in the goblet of fire, Harry?
Yeah! Man, I love Dumbledore's fury and power. Awesome. So good.
Did you put your name in the goblet of fire, Harry?
Oh man, and Moody. Didn't
Sucks.
That
Big
sucks.
time sucks.
what happened with the wands? I don't know what that means. Is that fair that tournament organizers forced participants to bad Lord Voldemort for the final task? No, of course not. I think that's a pretty straightforward answer, right? No, it's not fair. They tried to kill him. I don't know what you're meaning with that question, but no. How will other characters react to what has happened to Harry tonight? I guess just mostly shock and concern. I think Snape will have more respect for Harry from now on, I think.
Nah.
Who is Voldemort's inside man in Hogwarts? Just got revealed. And see, that's a bit of a leading question, right? So, please stay away from leading questions like that, Jenny. Thank you. What are you feeling right now? I'm crazy horny. I'm kidding. I had goosebumps. That was like so much surprise and mad respect for Dumbledore. Oh man, that whole Moody thing made me angry. Made me really angry. I was like, how dare you? Then what else? Yeah, it's great. Harry is like, more courageous, braver. Him not deciding not to die like that, stepping up and fighting. Loved that a lot. That was awesome. What other moments were there? Cedric, that whole thing was really sad, and especially that whole part of like bring my body back to my parents. Like one of the last things he says to Harry. Oh, that's so awful. It's so sad. Yeah, very into this. This has turned into my favorite book now.
It wasn't a leading question. Voldemort said that he had an inside man in Hogwarts when he was talking to the people,
That was Moody.
Theaters. Oh yeah, I guess so.
That was Moody. That's my guess. What else? The third book was my favorite till now, and now the mastery of the writing and the secrecy and Easter eggs all throughout it. Then you're like, oh yes, okay. The very end is so good. She's masterful, planting red herrings all around that you think is like oh, and then it comes to this.
Because you thought it was Bagman that put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire.
No.
What do you think of Bagman now, though?
I said Moody.
Okay, but whatever. Let's glaze over that.
Moving on. No.
What do you think of Bagman now, though? Now that it's not him that put it in the Goblet of Fire. I'm still extremely suspicious of the guy. But
I am too. I'm still suspicious. I still am, for sure. Okay. All right, friends. I'm going to log off and log right back on, okay? So follow me back. There was no sound. Do people have sound now? Let me know. Do you have sound? For some reason I started the stream right now and the last round didn't have sound. So can you hear me now? Yeah? Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good.
7 o'clock. Woo!
7 o'clock! Thank you, healthcare workers! Healthcare workers, you are our favorite. Healthcare workers, you save the lives.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sound's back. I'm going to wait a second for everybody to log back on until I finish this chapter. Man, that was crazy. What a crazy reveal. Yeah, Mark's speechless. The only thing... okay,
Through the book.
Now
I'm just like, finish it on to the next one.
Yeah. This is all amazing. Like, the writing's amazing. I'm cherry picking a flaw here. Him going long and just monologuing before killing him. It's just...
Who, Moody?
Yeah. It's just a cliche. It worked its way into it. But that's fine with me because it was awesome. Okay? Okay. Everybody's back. I'm going to keep on reading here.
Well, it's important for the story, too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Same with Voldemort's huge diatribe.
Yeah. It's exposition and it's part of what stories need.
Yeah.
All right. Dumbledore said, no, he stays. Hey, buddy, want to come up here? I'm gonna bring Dexter up for this final bit, and I'm gonna get his little bed up here too. Hey, let's get these two out of here so you can join me and hang out. You miss me? You miss me, buddy? There he is. He's gonna read along. There we go. Hey, hey, buddy. Okay, here we go.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna color right here.
Around here. Okay, here we go. Dumbledore said no, he stays. Moody, Harry said. He was still in a state of complete disbelief. Let me turn you, bring you over here. Yeah, there we go. Complete disbelief. How can it have been Moody?
This is not Alistair Moody,
Said Dumbledore quietly.
You have never known Alistair Moody. The real Moody would not have removed you from my sight after what happened tonight. The moment he took you, I knew, and I followed.
Dumbledore bent down over Moody's limp form and pulled a hand inside his robes. He pulled out Moody's hip flask and a set of keys on a ring. Then he turned to Professor McGonagall and Snape.
Severus, please fetch me the strongest truth potion you possess, and then go down to the kitchens and bring up the house elf called Winky.
Are they gonna give Winky the truth potion?
Yeah. Did Bagman transform himself into Moody, maybe?
What?
Maybe in the woods kind of swapped places with... or I don't know. Okay, let's see.
Minerva, kindly go down to Hagrid's house, where you will find a large black dog sitting in a pumpkin patch.
Serious.
McGonagall's just like, okay.
And then go to Diagon Alley, kiss the fifth stone from the left 70 times, and talk to the cockroach behind the stone. Where you will find a large black dog sitting in the pumpkin patch. Take the dog up to my office. Tell him I will be with him shortly. Then come back here. If either Snape
or McGonagall found these instructions peculiar, they hid their confusion. Both turned at once and left the office. Dumbledore walked over to the trunk with 7 locks, fitted the first key in the lock, and opened it. It contained a mass of spell books. Dumbledore closed the trunk, placed a second key in the second lock, and opened the trunk again. The spell books had vanished. This time it contained an assortment of broken sneakoscopes, some parchment and quills, and what looked like a silvery invisibility cloak. Harry watched, astounded, as Dumbledore placed the 3rd, 4th, and 5th key and 6th keys in their respective locks, reopening the trunk each time, and revealing different contents each time. Then he placed the 7th key in the lock, threw open the lid, and Harry let out a cry of amazement. "Ah!" He was looking down into a kind of pit, an underground room, and lying on the floor some 10 feet below, apparently fast asleep, thin and starved in appearance, was the real Mad-Eye Moody!
Dang!
She keeps on coming with the twists!
Oh.
Now I'm not angry at Moody anymore. Come on now. What do you think? You surprised as I am, buddy? That's oh my gosh.
Also, Harry is like still extremely injured through all of this with like a huge spider bite in his leg. Like,
yeah.
friggin'.
And yeah, right.
Get him to the hospital wing.
No, he must understand. He's like, I understand, but I'm dead. I'm sorry. Oh, come on now. That's some craziness right there. Okay, his wooden leg was gone. The socket which should have held the magical eye looked empty beneath its lid, and chunks of his grizzled hair were missing. Harry stared, thunderstruck, between the sleeping Moody in the trunk, and the unconscious Moody lying on the floor of the office. Dumbledore climbed into the trunk, lowered himself, and fell lightly on the floor beside the sleeping Moody. He bent over him. Stunned, controlled by the
controlled by the Imperious curse. Very weak, he said. Of course, they would have needed to keep him alive. Harry, throw down the impostor's cloak. Alistair is freezing. Madame Pomfrey will need to see him, but he seems in no immediate danger.
Harry did as he was told. Dumbledore covered Moody in the cloak, tucked it around him, and clambered out of the trunk again. Then he picked up the hip flask that stood upon the desk, unscrewed it, and turned it over. A thick, glutinous liquid splattered onto the office floor.
Polyjuice potion, Harry,
said Dumbledore.
You see the simplicity of it, and the brilliance, for Moody never does drink except from his hip flask. He's well known for it. The impostor needed, of course,
He wants down.
to keep the real Moody close by, so that he could continue making the potion. You see his hair.
Dumbledore looked down on the Moody in the trunk.
The impostor has been cutting it off all year. See where it is uneven. But I think in the excitement of tonight, our fake Moody might have forgotten to take it as frequently as she should, on the hour, every hour. We shall see.
Okay, one second. What's this about the hair?
That's one of the ingredients in Polyjuice Potion, remember?
Right,
You
okay.
need the hair of the person that
Right.
you want to turn into.
So he forgot to take it now, but how did...
The imposter forgot to take the juice at a decent time. So they're expecting that the imposter to return back to who they were.
Right, okay, gotcha. Dumbledore pulled at the chair at the desk and sat down upon it, his eyes fixed upon the unconscious Moody on the floor. Harry stared at him too. Minutes passed in silence. Then, before Harry's very eyes, the face of the man on the floor began to change. The scars were disappearing. The skin was becoming smooth. Wait a second. He's looking down at the fake man, right?
Yeah, at the fake Moody.
Dr. Moody got taken. Moody got taken to Madame Pomfrey, right?
Real Moody in the case?
Yeah.
I assume so. I don't know if it's taken.
Was he still lying there? Because that would be also odd. The scars were disappearing. The skin was becoming smooth. The mangled nose became whole and started to shrink. The long mane of grizzled gray hair was withdrawing into the scalp and turning the color of straw. Suddenly, with a loud clunk, the wooden leg fell away as a normal leg regrew in its place. Next moment, the magical eyeball had popped out of the man's face as a real eye replaced it. It rolled away across the floor and continued to swivel in every direction. Harry saw a man lying before him, pale-skinned, slightly freckled, with a mop of fair hair. He knew who he was. He had seen him in Dumbledore's pensieve, had watched him being led away from court by the Dementors, trying to convince Mr. Crouch that he was innocent. But he was lined around the eyes now, and looked much older. There were hurried footsteps outside in the corridor. Snape had returned with Winky at his heels. Professor McGonagall was right behind them.
Crouch,
Snape said, stopping dead in the doorway.
Barty Crouch.
Good heavens, said Professor McGonagall, stopping dead and staring down at the man on the floor. Barty Crouch? Was Moody the whole time?
What?
What? Shit.
Like the... What? Like the actual Crouch? Or Crouch's son?
I feel like it's Crouch's son.
It's gotta be.
Yeah, oh no, he was being led away.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Crouch's son.
Yeah.
So he was bad, and Crouch was right in doing this. Whoa! Remember how much we didn't like Crouch?
Yeah, but well, how did he get out of Azkaban? Wasn't he dead?
Assumed. No, I mean, yeah, they said he was dead, but Rowling was like, she's also got like a shotgun of twists. She's like, ta-cha-bow, take that, readers, blast in the face. You think you know what's going on?
Plus, Cedric's dead.
Come on now, keep reading. Don't tell me what to do. You probably stopped. I've got my reactions. Okay? Filthy, disheveled, Winky peered around Snape's leg. Her mouth opened wide, and she let out a piercing shriek. Master Barty! Master Barty, what is you doing here? She flung herself towards onto the young man's chest. You is killed him! You is killed him! You is killed Master's son!
He is simply stunned, Winky,
said Dumbledore.
Step aside, please. Severus, you have the potion.
Snape handed Dumbledore a small glass bottle of completely clear liquid, the Veritas serum with which he had threatened Harry in class. Dumbledore got up, bent over the man on the floor, and pulled him into a sitting position against the wall beneath the faux glass, in which the reflections of Dumbledore, Snape, and McGonagall were still glaring down upon them all. Winky remained on her knees, trembling, her hands over her face. Dumbledore forced the man's mouth open and poured 3 drops inside of it. Then he pointed his wand at the man's chest and said,
Enervate!
Crouch's son opened his eyes. His face was slack, his gaze unfocused. Dumbledore knelt before him so that their faces were level.
Can you hear me?
Dumbledore asked quietly. The man's eyelids flickered. Yes. Oh, give me adjectives for this dude, please. Adjectives for this dude, so that I know, kind of how to work with him.
I would like you to tell us,
said Dumbledore softly.
How you came to be here. How did you escape from Azkaban?
Crouch took a deep, shuddering breath, then began to speak in a flat, expressionless voice. So I'm guessing the voice will be slightly similar to Crouch's, a bit more sinister. Was it truth? Polyjuice seems honest. Okay, no adjectives. I'm just gonna make twitchy, crazy as F, deranged. Okay, yeah. But I'm doing him slightly similar to Crouch because he's his son, maybe lanky, shifty. Yeah. My mother saved me. She knew She knew she was dying. She persuaded my father to rescue me as a last favor to her. He loved her as he had never loved me. He agreed. They came to visit me. They gave me a draught of polyjuice potion containing one of my mother's hairs. She took a draught of polyjuice potion containing one of my hairs. We took on each other's appearance. Winky was shaking her head, trembling. Okay, wait, tell me again. My mother saved me. She knew she was dying. She persuaded my father to rescue me as a last favor to her. He loved...
Oh.
He killed his own wife. They swapped bodies?
She knew she was dying, apparently. So much polyjuice potion.
She gave me a draught of containing one of my mother's hair. She took the containing one of my... Oh my gosh! Winky was shaking her head, trembling. Say no more, Master Barty. Say no more. You is getting your father into trouble. But Crouch took another deep breath and continued in the same flat voice. The Dementors are blind. They sensed one healthy, one dying person entering Azkaban. They sensed one healthy, one dying person leaving it. My father smuggled me out, disguised as my mother, in case any prisoners were watching through their doors. What? What now? The father knew about this? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep reading and then try and analyze this. My mother died a short while afterwards in Azkaban. She was... She was careful to drink polyjuice potion until the end. She was buried under my name and bearing my appearance. Everyone believed her to be me. The man's eyelids flickered.
And what did your father do with you when he got you home?
Said Dumbledore quietly. Staged my mother's death. A quiet, private funeral. That grave is empty. The house elf nursed me back to health. Then I had to be concealed. I had to be controlled. My father had to use
a number of spells to subdue me. When I had recovered my strength, I thought only of finding my master, of returning to his service.
Okay. He loved her and she loved her son. Right. Okay, so, but I just didn't want to make this clear.
Yeah.
The intentions. So, did he know that his wife and his son changed places?
Yeah.
He knew of that.
Or maybe
Because
yeah.
he loved her. He would not let her go off to be killed by Azkaban because he didn't love his son as much, so he didn't know.
She was already dying, is what he said.
Oh,
What Junior said.
it was her dying wish.
It was yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, that clarifies everything because I was like, did he know this was happening? Then did he just say like, okay, I got to take care of my son now? Okay, thank you. That helps. That helps.
How did your father subdue you?
Said Dumbledore. The imperious curse, Crouch said. I was under my father's control.
Whoa.
I was forced to wear an invisibility cloak day and night. I was always with the house elf. She was my keeper and carer. She pitied me. She persuaded my father to give me occasional treats, rewards for my good behavior.
Master Barty,
Sobbed Winky through her hands.
you isn't ought to tell them we is getting in trouble. Did anyone ever discover that you were still alive?
Said Dumbledore softly.
Did anyone know except your father and the house elf?
Yes, said Crouch, his eyelids flickering again.
A witch in my father's office, Bertha Jorkins. She came to the house with papers for my father's signature. He was not at home. Winky showed her inside and returned to the kitchen to me. But Bertha Jorkins heard Winky talking to me. She came to investigate. She heard enough to guess who was hiding under the invisibility cloak. My father arrived home. She confronted him. He put a very powerful memory charm on her to make her forget what she'd found out. Too powerful. He said it damaged her memory permanently.
Why is she coming to nose in my master's private business?
I knew I hated Winky, sobbed Winky.
Why isn't she leaving us be? Tell us about the Quidditch World Cup,
said Dumbledore.
Winky talked my father into it,
Said Crouch, still in the same monotonous voice.
She spent months persuading him. I had not left the house for years. I had loved Quidditch. Let him go, she said. He will be in his invisibility cloak. He can watch. Let him smell fresh air for once. She said my mother would have wanted it. She told my father that my mother had died to give me freedom. She had not saved me for a life of imprisonment. He agreed in the end. It was carefully planned. My father led myself and Winky up to the top box early in the day. Winky was to say that she was saving a seat for my father.
Wait, my father led myself and Winky up to the top box early in the day.
Yeah.
Wait, who was he? He was in an invisibility cloak.
He was in an invisibility cloak, and remember, like, Mr. Crouch never showed, and so there was just an empty seat the whole time beside Winky. He was in that seat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh man. Oh yeah, oh man, oh yeah. Okay.
When everyone had left the box, we would emerge. Winky would appear to be alone. Nobody would ever know. But Winky didn't know that I was growing stronger. I was starting to fight my father's imperious curse. There were times when I was almost myself again. There were brief periods when I seemed outside his control. It happened there, in the top box. It was like waking from a deep sleep.
I found myself out in public in the middle of the match, and I saw a wand sticking out of a boy's pocket in front of me.
Right.
I had not been allowed a once since before Azkaban. I stole it. Winky didn't know. Winky is frightened of heights. She had her face hidden.
Mr. Butty, you bad boy!
Whispered Winky, tears trickling between her fingers.
So you took the wand,
Said Dumbledore.
and what did you do with it?
We went back to the tent, said Crouch. Then we heard them. We heard the Death Eaters, the ones who had never been to
There's a little fill for you.
the ones who had never been to Azkaban, the ones who had never suffered for my master. They had turned their backs on him. They were not enslaved as I was. They were free to seek him, but they did not. They were merely making sport of muggles. The sound of their voices awoke me. My mind was clearer than it had been in years. I was angry. I had the wand. I wanted to attack them for their disloyalty to my master. My father had left the tent. He had gone to free the muggles. Winky was afraid to see me so angry. She used her own brand of magic to bind me to her. She pulled me from the tent, pulled me into the forest away from the Death Eaters. Now I like her again. I tried to hold her back. I wanted to return to the campsite. I wanted to show those Death Eaters what loyalty to the Dark Lord meant, and to punish them for the lack of it. I used the stolen wand to cast the dark mark into the sky. Ministry wizards arrived. They shot stunning spells everywhere. One of the spells came through the trees where Winky and I stood. The bond connecting us was broken. We were both stunned. When Winky was discovered, my father knew I must be nearby. He searched the bushes where she had been found and felt me lying there. He waited until the other ministry members had left the forest. He put me back under the imperious curse and took me home. He dismissed Winky. She had failed him. She had let me acquire a wand. She had almost let me escape.
Winky let out a wail of despair.
Oh, man. Now it was just Father and I, alone in the house, and then... Crouch's head rolled onto his neck, and an insane grin spread across his face. My master came for me. He arrived at our house late one night in the arms of his servant Wormtail. My master had found that I was still alive. He had captured Bertha Jorkins in Albania. He had tortured her. She told him a great deal. She told him about the Triwizard Tournament. She told him the old aura Moody was going to teach at Hogwarts. He tortured her until he broke through the memory charm that my father had placed upon her. She told him I had escaped from Azkaban. She told him my father kept me imprisoned to prevent me seeking my master. And so my master knew that I was still his faithful servant, perhaps the most faithful of all. My master conceived a plan based upon the information Bertha had given him. He needed me. He arrived at our house near midnight. My father answered the door. The smile spread wider over Crouch's face, as though recalling the sweetest memory of his life. Winky's petrified brown eyes were visible through her fingers. She seemed too appalled to speak. It was very quick. My father was placed under the imperious curse by my master. Now my father was the one imprisoned, controlled. My master forced him to go about his business as usual, to act as though nothing was wrong. And I was released. I awoke. I was myself again, alive as I hadn't been in years.
And what did Lord Voldemort ask you to do?
Said Dumbledore. He asked me whether I was ready to risk everything for him. I was ready. It was my dream, my greatest ambition, to serve him, to prove myself to him. He told me he needed to place a faithful servant at Hogwarts, a servant who would guide Harry Potter through the Triwizard Tournament without appearing to do so. A servant who would watch over Harry Potter, ensure he reached the Triwizard Cup, turn the cup into a portkey, which would take the first person to touch it to my master. But first,
you needed Alistair Moody,
said Dumbledore. His blue eyes were blazing, though his voice remained calm.
Wormtail and I did it. We had prepared the polyjuice potion beforehand. We journeyed to his house. Moody put up a struggle. There was a commotion. We managed to subdue him just in time, forced him into a compartment of his own magical trunk, took some of his hair and added it to the potion. I drank it. I became Moody's double. I took his leg and his eye. I was ready to face Arthur Weasley when he arrived to sort out the muggles who had a disturbance. I made the dustbins move around the yard. I told Arthur Weasley I had heard intruders in my yard who had set the dustbins off. Then I packed up Moody's clothes and dark detectors, put them in the trunk with Moody, and set off for Hogwarts. I kept them alive under the imperious curse. I wanted to be able to question him, to find out about his past, learn his habits, so that I could fool even Dumbledore. I also needed his hair to make the polyjuice potion. The other ingredients were easy. I stole Boomslang's skin from the dungeons. When the potions master found me in his office, I said I was under orders to search it. And what became of Wormtail after you attacked Moody?
Said Dumbledore. I'm just thinking back to that scene where Crouch was commanding them to take away his son to be killed. And, oh man, how excruciating that must have been for Crouch.
I'm thinking back to when Harry saw Crouch in Snape's office on the Marauders map, because he was getting the ingredients for the polyjuice potion, probably, right?
And Crouch...
And I guess the Marauders map doesn't give a shit if you got polyjuice potion, it just puts your name there.
Last name.
Yeah.
It didn't say Barty Crouch. It just said Crouch, probably.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah.
So Murata's map only gives last names, maybe. Okay, let's see.
And what became of Wormtail after you attacked Moody?
Said Dumbledore. Wormtail returned to care for my master in my master's house, and to keep watch over my father.
But your father escaped,
said Dumbledore. Yes. After a while he began to fight the Imperious Curse, just as I had done. There were periods where he knew what was happening. My master decided it was no longer safe for my father to leave the house. He forced him to send letters to the ministry instead. He made him write and say he was ill. But Wormtail neglected his duty. He was not watchful enough. My father escaped. My master guessed that he was heading for Hogwarts. My father was going to tell Dumbledore everything to confess. He was going to admit that he had smuggled me from Azkaban. My master sent me word of my father's escape. He told me to stop him at all costs, so I waited and watched. I used the map I had taken from Harry Potter, the map that had almost ruined everything.
Map?
Said Dumbledore quickly.
What map is this?
Potter's map of Hogwarts. Potter saw me on it. Potter saw me stealing more ingredients for the polyjuice potion from Snape's office one night. He thought I was my father, as we have the same first name. Right. Okay, no, first names, yeah. I took the map from Potter that night. I told him my father hated dark wizards. Potter believed my father was after Snape. For a week I waited for my father to arrive at Hogwarts. At last, one evening, the map showed my father entering the grounds. I pulled on my invisibility cloak and went down to meet him. He was walking around the edge of the forest. Then Potter came and Crumb. I waited. I could not hurt Potter. My master needed him. Potter ran to get Dumbledore. I stunned Crump. I killed my father.
No!
Wailed Winky.
Master Patty, what is you saying? You killed your father,
Dumbledore said in the same soft voice.
What did you do with the body?
Carried it into the forest, covered it with invisibility cloak. I had the map with me. I watched Potter run into the castle. He met Snape. Dumbledore joined them. I watched Potter bringing Dumbledore out of the castle. I walked back out of the forest, doubled round behind them, went to meet them. I told Dumbledore Snape had told me where to come. Dumbledore told me to go and look for my father. I went back to my father's body, watched the map. When everyone was gone, I transfigured my father's body. He became a bone. I buried it while wearing the invisibility cloak in the freshly dug earth in front of Hagrid's cabin. What a freak! There was a complete silence now, except for Winky's continued sobs. Then Dumbledore said,
And tonight,
I offered to carry the Triwizard Cup into the maze before dinner, whispered Barty Crouch. Turned it into a port key.
My master's plan worked. He is returned to power, and I will be honored by him beyond the dreams of wizards.
The insane smile lit his features once more, and his head drooped onto his shoulders as Winky wailed and sobbed at his side. Oh, boy. I'm exhausted. That is a lot of crazy stuff. I don't even know where to start. Man. That was crazy. Oh, man. Okay. He was just puppeteering all of this all around the time. So now I probably at some point I'm going to have to read through this book again to look at Moody's actions.
Well, I feel sad that we don't even know the real Moody now.
Yeah, we haven't even met him.
Because maybe he's a legit,
No.
really, really cool person.
But what I'm thinking is of course, all of his actions have been evil actions, but he copied the mannerisms, right?
Sure,
So
yeah.
this constant vigilance, probably that stuff is
Yeah.
probably still very much Moody. That was super fun. Thank you. How much is left? Let's see. We got page 601 to 636. I think we might... I don't know. I might break it up into 2 readings, depending how it goes tomorrow. There's a lot going on. Oh, wow. Okay, let's look at some questions. Before I do, check out my Patreon for other readings that I'm doing. They're a lot of fun right now. A lot of interesting parts.
Yeah, Harry's still bleeding and going into septic shock right now, by the way.
Yeah, Harry's still bleeding. So check out my Patreon for other readings we're having there. And yeah, let's go into some questions. Yeah, he's still bleeding away. I really like the stream with no sound. Can you do that for tomorrow too? You know what? Maybe I'll just block you from the stream, Nathan. I could do that. Can you please join me? In what? You want on the stream? I'm sorry, no, I don't know who you are. Are you taking a break or are you starting the next day? Okay, I'm giving you a heads up warning. I'm going to be taking a break, and maybe it might be a few days longer than usual, just because I want to get everything set up so that I can use my camera and everything else to stream this. It's really bugging me that Instagram is being really buggy, and I'm not being able to save the streams, and like one of them got lost, not being able to see the comments, all that stuff, and it's a bit too risky for. I feel like it's just a bit too risky to lose this, so I can't upload it for other people. So I might. It's not going to be very long, but a few days longer, so that I can have a strong start with this other setup. So don't worry, it's not going to go until long, but I'm not going to start the next day. How do you think Harry survived all that monologuing? Yeah, definitely didn't. He bled out. He's dead. What was the most shocking reveal tonight? I don't know. There were so many of them. They were like, okay, gosh. What were all the reveals? There were so many. So big reveal was it was Moody all along, right? And then big reveal was that it was actually Barty Crouch Jr. all along, and that he was manipulating everything all along. What happened before then? Oh yeah, like the ghosts coming out of his wand, and Harry being equally strong as what's his face?
Voldemort.
Yeah. What's his face? Oh gosh. I don't know. I think Moody. That when it was Moody, that blew me away entirely.
Yeah,
I was like,
really
no. Do you get Trelawney's prophecy of last year now? Oh, what was the prophecy?
Remember, she said something about Voldemort's faithful servant bringing him back to life.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
I would like to go back and read specifically what it says.
Yeah. And not to forget that Voldemort's real name is the evil railing of hell. The evil banister of hell. I would watch you do a full reread once you're done. Would you consider? No, probably not. I won't do a full reread. I'll be watching the movies, but not a reread. I'll be reading other books.
Maybe in 10 years.
Yeah, maybe in 10 years. What original character do you feel has changed most since you met them in book 1?
Good question.
Great question, Brynny S. Vincent. Great question. Who changed the most? Okay, so Harry, Hermione. Well, let me, the golden trifecta. Dumbledore hasn't changed at all. I mean, they're the main thread from book 1. Who else? Draco's the same. Neville's kind of the same. You just get more out of him. Who has changed the most? I would say Harry has changed the most.
Yep.
Yeah. He has had the biggest change of character. From being this bland, fearful... I did find him a little bland at the beginning. Because he's just, this person to project on at the very beginning. Don't get mad about that.
What?
What? He wasn't bland! But he's become more and more of a character and a stronger character throughout it. So I think Harry. So how much therapy do you think the Crouches need? Well, it's just one person. And he's beyond therapy, I think. Do you believe you could have figured it all out? I did. Go back and look at the video. I figured it all out.
People just stop asking questions like that because you know what he's going to say.
Why are you mad? Why are you so mad? We're having a fun time here.
I'm not mad.
No, we're just all happy that I figured it all out. That's all we're doing.
Come on.
We're having a great time. Is YouTube Live a better option? I'm going to be streaming to a couple of different platforms, including Instagram. So, yes. Winky going into the forest looked like she was being pulled, and it was just Barty Crouch Jr. Yeah, remember when she was going... Yeah, it did, didn't it? How much therapy do you think Harry would need after this night? Oh, he's been in need of therapy for a long time. This school, Hogwarts, needs a therapy teacher or something. Definitely needs a lot. Definitely. Are you doing okay? There was a lot of death in there. I'm so comfortable with death because I kill people. No, I'm doing fine. It's just like a lot of
you heard his
excitement
here, folks.
That's why I call Dexter. Which part have you found the saddest? Tugged at your heartstrings the most? Oh, definitely the part where Crouch was letting his son die. I felt really sad about that. Yeah. And now it's even deeper. Now it's even deeper. Like he is letting his wife be pulled off and die. Oh gosh. Nuh-uh. No. What did Winky do through the forest again? That's what she did. That's what she did. Do you think Fang will eat Barty Sr.? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Just call him Barty Sr. the Bone from now on. Are you actually more impressed by the series than you thought you would be? Yes, I am. I really am. I'm really more impressed by it. The twists and turns, the mastery of the writing, brilliant writing. The constant throwing off of thoughts and little trickles of clues. It's really good. Yeah, I'm loving it. Really good. Okay, that is all the questions for now. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Tomorrow we read again. I'll probably have 1 or 2 more sessions until this book is done, and then I'll take a break afterwards. Thanks again for tuning in. Remember, you have value, you have meaning, you are loved. Give that on to others. What else? Nothing else. Thanks for everything. I will see you tomorrow again. Bye-bye. So you finally understand potheads. You mean potheads, but I understand both of them. Bye. See you, everybody.